Howdy folks, long time no see. I haven't done a video in a while, and there's a number of reasons for it, not the least of which is that I was trying to figure out a way of demonstrating some techniques and have really good sort of layovers or things like that, and that had gotten in the way of actually putting up a video with information on it. And so what inspired me to go ahead with this without having things perfect was I saw a post on Instagram by somebody who had excellent graphics. They had some layovers that were not stickers on the guitar, but with the video, it was there, and the guitar was held straight. They played their things relatively accurately in terms of using decent fingering, not the typical avoiding the pinky stuff, and was calling it the minor pentatonic, but showing you all the different shapes, which is minorly not accurate because although most people want to learn how to play the minor pentatonic and maybe some of the other shapes, they're just referred to as pentatonic scales, of which the minor pentatonic is one of them. There's also the major pentatonic, and those are the two most popular, and you can use them to play in major keys, minor keys, or the blues. So they had this really cool graphics, a little bit of misnaming, calling it the minor pentatonic, and then underneath it though was like this whole, underneath this was this guitar in the top frame, and then underneath it there was this picture of like a graphic of the guitar. Then the buttons were going off about what note that person was playing, but unfortunately the person was underneath was showing the blues scale, so they're saying minor pentatonic when it's really pentatonics, and saying the blues scale when it's really pentatonics, right? Anyways, so I figured just an old thought I had a long time ago, as long as there's been free information on the internet, about the guitar, there's always been good information and good presentation, and they never go together unless you want to pay for it, which is fair, so if you want to come and see me, you can come and pay for it, but I'm willing to give a few things free, particularly about 7-string guitar, because I don't teach a lot of 7-string guitar because it's not that popular outside of some very specific things. Okay, so I don't know how fancy this is going to be. I don't know how well you can hear me. I already did one of these videos, and I spoke too quickly, which I do anyways, and the guitar was too loud, so if I played the guitar while I was talking, you couldn't hear anything. So I'm going to give it another shot, but I'm trying to make it quick, easy, and dirty. I'm just using a simple webcam, so I'm not doing anything into my recording software, and I'm just using this microphone and hope it picks up everything. So here we go, 7-string guitar. So a reminder, this is low B tuning, or B standard, so you have the upper 6 strings are the standard 6 strings, and then my 7th string is a B, and that's my personal choice. As discussed in the other video, in metal there's all kinds of different tunings. In classical music there's a couple of tunings, but for conventional guitar, for lack of a better term, the low string is usually an A, and there's a decent amount of information out there about an A tuning, but there's not a lot of information out there about the B tuning, so that's what I'm here for. Okay, so we're going to start off with some of our more fundamental chords, what are sometimes referred to as open chords or cowboy chords, and that is the ones we first learned when we're playing the guitar. So I'm going to start off with a D chord. All right, I did it differently. I'm going to do it the D chord. So here's our D chord, and there's a D chord played in the standard way that we would play it on a 6-string guitar. There's not much to do with that, but we have this lovely low B here, and we can reach with our pinky down here and play, and get that sound instead of this sound. Now that's a pretty easy, that's a little awkward, but it still works. I actually prefer to play it like this, where I'm playing, I bar here at the 2nd fret, but my 3rd finger instead of my 2nd finger, my second finger actually plays the low D note on the B string, and then I just grab an extra F sharp, and I get that sound. Now you can probably figure out that I could probably move this, but we're going to get into the movable type chords. We're going to get into that a little bit later. We're going to save that for movable chords. There you go. Okay, so there's a D chord. If I was going to do the D7, that's going to come from a different family of chords, so I'm going to ignore that for a while. But I'm going to play D minor. So I'm going to take D minor, but I'm going to play the D minor that we learn. It shows up a lot in classical guitar pieces, and that's the one where we put our pinky here instead of our third finger. But now our third finger has that same another job. It's going to go over here and play that low D note on the B string. And then if we ignore this F here, we can go. Get that sort of, it's not like Ohio, right? Instead of going, there's our D minor. My favorite chord from this that I find very usable, and as you can tell by looking at this guitar, I'm probably into the jazz with the jazzy jazz. So our D major 7 uses one finger, and it's no big deal to put my finger over here and play a D major 7, but have a nice low D note. All right, so that's some of our D chords, right? If you wanted to play a D sus9, there it is there, a D suspended. All right, so there's a D. Go, moving alphabetically, I guess we'll do that. The next one would be C. So we have our old C chord, right? We played that 1.5 million times. If I had an A tuning on my low 7th string, this is one of those ones where you can just put your finger over here. But instead, our C is actually located here. So in order for this to show up, we can play it the awkward way. So the awkward way that I never use is you take your C chord, and just like you would with other, like your bar chord studies, you use the upper 3 fingers instead of this, leave your first finger out of it, and then you play across like that, and you have. Now that's not very practical, not very quick to get to. So I actually do something completely different for a C chord. What I do, and it's going to look weird, and then in the long run it'll make sense. I take my second finger, put it over here, and I take my pinky and play it here. So I'm playing the C here. You have the open E here, the open G here. I have this E note here. I'm not playing anything on the 5th or 6th string. And now that's a weird fingering, and you think, well, why don't you do that? And then you're just basically playing that other thing. But what works here is I can do this, and then if we move it up here, oh, look at that! I got that D chord I was just playing a few seconds ago. And all of a sudden you have a bunch of songs like. So, wow, okay, so I'm playing those songs. Instead of having to play them here, I'm playing here, and I got a nice low note, all kinds of stuff that way. I only played a little bit of it because I wouldn't want Facebook to, and well, if you're watching this on Facebook, the Facebook will silence your video if it has any snippets of copyrighted songs, whereas YouTube will pay the people who are supposed to get paid for those songs. Okay, so there's the C chord. Now, other than that C chord, if I want to play C7, I have this C7 here. I just reach over here and play this. It's a little tangly because there's some notes I can't play, right? And I don't play this for the C chord this way because you end up with that G sharp we don't need. But my C7, so I have my C7 here. I put my first finger over here and bar all the way across. My pinky on the B flat note gets any trouble I might have with the G note. To make more use of it, I actually usually take my finger off of the C note and put it on the G. And so there's one note you can't play, and that's this top note, because you end up having to play that E note against the F. Doesn't sound very good. So when we play this C7, I can play most of the notes. I just can't play this top note. And as you'll notice from my right hand, I'm doing a lot of strumming. And I think that's just something we have to get out of our heads with a 7-string guitar, that strumming the entire guitar is just not a realistic thing to do, right? Hey, somebody just dinged me. By the way, that's making it that's how I'm going to do these videos, is that the phone might ring in the middle of it, there's going to be some bad edits, but the idea is to get the information out and not worry about whether it's 4K and whether I have great graphics. Okay. So there you go. So there's where we at? That was the C7, and then that leads me to the D7 that I kind of skipped over, and I can just go over here. I have a D7 here. Now those of you who have a lot of guitar experience will be going, hey, if you can move the C7 to the D7, I bet you there's an F7 in my future. I bet you, you know, that other chord, those other chords, and that's what we are aiming at towards, is controlling which strings are played with our right hand and being able to play these as movable chords. But we're just going to concentrate for now on the chords in this position. All right, that was a C. We did a D, and there's a C. Reverse alphabetical order would have us going to a B. I'm going to start with B minor. So we have this B minor, which I have never enjoyed as an open position chord. Immediately we want to play the bar chord. And we can still do that, but hey, we have a B tuning. So just listen to that. Playing a B chord just got a whole lot more interesting than playing this little thin one here. Anyways, so and then you can do the same. It's a little awkward with a B, this chord, and then, but then again, if you know your bar chords, you know that I could play this B here, and again, we have some other applications. Okay. So there's a B. Reverse that is doing A. A is not a lot we can do with that low B string. Obviously with the low A string you'd be able to drop down low enough. There's that second ding. Hey, we're just going to have to live with that, okay? It's just some staff issues over at the music school I own, and no biggie. Okay. So there's not much we can do with the A. So we're just going to go past that. It's going to show up in a different way. All right, going to G now in reverse alphabetical order. There's our G. Now there's not much we can do with the B note except to make the chord more G, but we can do the alternate bass thing. So if you're into alternate bass, you know, either high pitch picking or bluegrass style picking, you can play. So all of a sudden, for any 6-string chords, like an E chord, well, we'll get to the E chord. I'm always jumping ahead. I can just go over here and play that. You get and anything that you've already learned that you can do with a C chord. Right? You can do with the G chord. This little ditty. All of a sudden, so what did I do there? I played the G and the little bass, little down to the flat 7, and then that C chord. D chord that we were talking about, and all of a sudden now we're our own bass player for Stand By Me. Right? Beautiful. All right. So we did the G. Reverse alphabetical order would have us doing an F. So the F is not much we can do with the F other than reaching and playing an F, right? There's nothing over here. But if we play an F bar chord of some sort, F minor, we have the same thing we had with the G, and then we begin to see some applications. But again, we'll get to that later, because obviously there's the obvious bar chord root 5 thing we can do. Move on to that. All right. With E, it's the same thing. Or E minor. So that's just an opening sort of bid on being able to play some of these open position chords and then integrate the 7-string into it. When I first started playing 7-string guitar, when I started goofing around with it, I literally had actually like a really cheap Ibanez. Can't remember the model number, but it was like they don't even. It's a collector's item now, but when you see it, but I bought it for like $100, and it had been through the ringer. Sounded pretty good, but it hadn't been well cared for. But it just gave me an idea of what 7th string was about. And so, as a gigging musician, you can't show up on the gig with a completely different thing and make everybody else suffer while you work your stuff out. So what I would do is I would have the 7th string, and I'd be working on my 7th string playing. And then, oops, I got a gig in 4 days. I don't want to be, and I just put down the 7th string and just get my brain back together. And this might not be something anybody else has to go through, but just the way that my brain works, I couldn't deal with it. I could not, it was hard for me. But anyways, so what I did is I had it with me teaching all the time, and so that when I was accompanying students playing books out of Mel Bay or Hal Leonard, then I would try and play. I would get used to that 7th string. So they'd be playing Amazing Grace, and I'd be playing the chord. Accompany them, and I would throw in that 7th string. So don't be looking at this going, oh, I want to go straight to playing Donna Lee with the 7th string. Think about just playing the simple things in life. Playing Moon Dance. Think about playing, the songs that you already know, that are the simple ones. I'm putting in that 7th string. All right. Until next time. Like I say, hopefully do more of these and be able to throw some of these things at you. See you later.